What's going on YouTube? Showbiz here, and if you're watching this video, it probably means you're on Xbox and you're trying out Naraka Bladepoint for the first time. Well, luckily for you, I've spent over 1,000 hours on this game and I have the best settings for you to get you started. I'm also going to show you guys my button layout with some advanced recommendations, some options that I use, and some options that you have as well, so that you can customize your very own experience. Okay, let's go ahead and cover my button layout that I've been utilizing. They did do a button layout update, I believe like 2 months ago, and so these are fairly new inputs for me. I've been getting used to them for about a month and a half now, and so I'm pretty comfortable in these, and these are what I'm going to share with you today. So I do utilize LB and RB for my horizontal and vertical strikes. This does mirror a mouse, so if you played Naraka on PC, you'll know that a vertical is your right mouse button and a horizontal is your left mouse button. And so that's the same logic here. And I believe if you choose the classic controller button preset, it'll actually start with LT and RT. And so if you're more comfortable with those buttons, that works as well. I do utilize RT as my skill. The reasoning for this is when you use certain heroes like Valda, for example, her skill is very unique in a way where you have to it's very beneficial to be on the move when you're utilizing it, or you just never know what situation you'll be in when you want to use it. And having RT lets you keep that control of your player and your camera and allow you to more accurately aim that skill. And it doesn't just apply to Valda, it applies to all of them as well. It's a bit easier to activate that skill, whereas before the update I believe we had to like combo like X and RT to do that. So now it's just one button, which is really nice. I do utilize R, the R analog button, as my jump. I know some people do link their jump to X or to their paddles if they have them, but for my paddles I use dodge and crouch. I realized over time that these are the buttons that I utilize the most, and the buttons that you'll need for combos and for basic movement will come from these buttons a lot. You realize you won't probably jump as much as you think, and so I set that to R. One other thing I guess I can cover is that you don't want to have your lock bounded. I personally don't use lock. I also recommend that you guys don't use lock. I know as new players you're probably going to use lock once you realize what the lock on is. I imagine you will use it because you think it's probably for a controller, and I think it is, but it's also on PC. But I would recommend not utilizing it. It's not a great habit, and it will make you better in the long run if you don't use it. I would actually recommend raising your sensitivity and handling it this way rather than using the lock on. It just takes time and practice. Don't worry, you'll get used to it. And if you find yourself accidentally turning on the lock on, I would actually unbound this, and that's sort of the reason why I did this in the first place. I personally don't have my quick counter set, but as new players I do recommend that you do use your quick counter. Quick counter does allow you to counter without having to cancel your attack. So canceling your attack includes dodging or crouching or jumping. And so you can still do those things and then still parry. However, the quick counter will allow you to not have to perform those actions and still be able to parry, which is really nice for new players. And so I highly recommend that you turn this on, probably to a button that's pretty important that you'll be able to reach, because you'll be parrying an awful lot. I know I mentioned sensitivity a little bit if you had the lock on. I know some people have problems with the sensitivity. I know mine is on max. I run max and it's crazy, I know. And most people will find that 40 or 50 is probably okay for them. I think the default is 40. So I can just run through these sensitivity settings really quickly. Obviously set them to what you're comfortable with. I recommend hopping in free training or bot mode and testing out all these settings that you're setting today. And I'm kind of going through them from my point of view. I will say make sure you have your attack aim assist set to attack from camera direction. If you set this to attack from stick direction, you'll have to utilize your left analog stick in order to decide where you're going to aim. And once you pick up the game, you realize that that's not very optimal. And so attack from camera direction will be a bit more natural for you. And it's probably how it should be, right? I think this is the default option. Auto lock target, this goes to the lock feature that I was mentioning earlier before that I have not bounded. I imagine a lot of new players will fall in love with the lock feature because it helps them stick with players when they're jumping around. I do recommend you turn this off and leave it off. I believe the default is off, and that's good. However, when you turn this on, it will automatically lock onto a target when they're in your vicinity. I'm not sure how close they have to be for this, but I do know it's not that close. They can be pretty far away and lock on, and it'll do it automatically. So that can really mess you up if you're in like a duo or trios, or you're being third party in a solo match. I do recommend you have your aim assist on weak. The other option is off. I imagine Xbox will have either weak or strong. If you do have a strong option, I would utilize that one because it's probably better than the weak one, and it's probably better overall in console. I would also turn off your controller vibration. I know some people do play with this on, but to be honest, this should be off in all of your games, whether you're playing sports or whether you're playing Call of Duty or Naraka. You should probably have your vibration off. All it does is mess up your aim, or mess up, or you just, trigger a parry that you don't want from it vibrating. I couldn't imagine, right? So I would turn this off and leave it off, and I would go with that. Okay, now that you guys got your settings, you got your button layout, now you need to go out there and kill it. I do recommend that you guys go ahead and work on your movement, probably work on your parrying second, and then I'd recommend you also drop into a bot mode and get used to the map. If there's anything that I mentioned today that you'd like me to go into detail on, just let me know in the comments. Or if there's a certain aspect of the game you'd like me to break down on controller, I'm more than willing to do that. If I helped you out in any way today, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and you might see more content from me. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day and have fun in Naraka.